My wife asked for a hall pass after surviving cancer and wouldn't take no for an answer. So I decided to make her pay for it. After my wife survived stage 1 uterine cancer, she insisted we start living life to the fullest, with trips to Europe and Belize. Everything seemed perfect until she asked for a hall pass to sleep with a coworker, saying she didn't want to miss any opportunities. I refused, and the next day she basically said that she was sorry for putting such a large decision solely on my shoulders, and that to help, she was taking the decision away from me. She booked a hotel near where her coworkers were throwing a party as a send-off for this guy, and she would spend the night there with him and hoped that I would be here when she got back, that she would answer any questions I have about the night after it happened, but not before. She will not tell me who he is or anything about him, because she knows me too well and that I will dwell and obsess over him, and that would make it too real for me, which is pretty accurate. She truly believed that the less I knew, the better, which contradicts the offer to tell me anything I want to know after it happened. I think she knows I won't want to know or ask anything, or she simply will not tell me. Part of me thinks, at least she has been honest with me, and she has been through a lot since finding out she had cancer, so maybe I should just let it happen. I certainly have no concept of what she went through, so I cannot dismiss how this affected her mental state or outlook on life. Part of me wants to put my foot down and say this is not going to happen, and deal with those consequences when they happen. Her best friend called me callous for even suggesting that I wouldn't let it happen, because I have no idea what she went through. I find it hard to believe that she is okay with the possibility of throwing away 20-plus years of marriage over some guy that she has had no relationship with outside of work, and that I should just call her bluff. Maybe she thinks similarly that I won't throw away the marriage because of one encounter. I just don't know what to do. I empathize with her, and then an instant later I am angry with her. Part of me wants to know who the hell this guy is. What does he look like? What has he got that is so enthralling for her? Is he just a safe option? Is he married? Does his wife know? Would I be a callous asshole for saying no? What can I do besides walking away? She thinks because she will never see this guy again and that I have never supposedly met him, that it won't really affect me or our marriage in the long term. I am left with accepting it and never viewing her the same way again or going through a divorce at 54. Not really great options on either front. I don't know where her head is, and the bout with cancer is affecting her in ways that I couldn't possibly imagine. I don't think she believes I will leave. I was hoping that my opposition to her plans would make her pause, but unfortunately, that did not happen. I said I was a hard no, and I am not sure how I will feel about you if you go ahead with it. I was once again met with, "This is for me. It will be one time. What can I say to help you deal with it? You'll get over it." We were meant to be regardless of the situation, remarks leading up to Saturday. She left Saturday, ostensibly to meet her coworkers, but in reality, she went to sleep with the guy. I asked her to text me when she was leaving for the bar, and when she did, I asked her if she was really going to go through with this. She responded with, "I am not answering any more questions tonight. I will see you tomorrow." Reading this, I decided that it's gone too far, so I blocked my wife. Then I did something either stupid or brilliant. I went to the bar where the get-together was happening. Well, not the bar, but a transit bench across the street. I waited for a long time. It was running through my mind the leading up to this event, that I needed to know who this guy was, maybe to compare myself against him, to see what he had that I do not. It was driving me crazy not knowing who he was and what was so special about him that she would ruin a marriage for. After what seemed like an eternity, a woman that I recognized from my wife's office left the bar and got in a cab. Soon, other people started filing out and a whole group came out and people were hugging a man and shaking his hand. I assumed that I had my guy. I didn't see my wife and had a brief thought that maybe she called it all off. I unblocked her and there were no messages. Everyone said their goodbyes and left. The guy was standing outside for a few minutes, and then my wife came out. She looked around, took his hand, and started walking away together. Of all the emotions I went through, trepidation, sadness, anger, it was disgust that really encapsulated the event for me. This guy was short, fat, and bald, all the things I cannot compete with. Ultimately, I felt like a pervert for watching from a distance. I followed until they got to the hotel and then turned around and went home. I woke up Sunday morning and put a lock on the master bedroom door. I moved her things to the spare room and left a note asking her to find other accommodations as quickly as possible. I visited another friend who is a lawyer, and he gave me some sage advice and a couple of recommendations for divorce attorneys and made the introductions. My wife had been calling me numerous times since around 11 or so. Once blocked the calls go to voicemail. I listened to the first couple but felt nothing but some satisfaction when she couldn't get through to me and she was obviously becoming concerned. I didn't want to go home, but I left in such a hurry that I didn't plan an overnight properly. I got home around 9, and as per my buddy's advice, I recorded the interaction. I was halfway up the stairs when she came up from the family room asking what was going on. "Could we talk? I thought we talked about this." I just answered that I am not interested in discussing this tonight and went to bed. After not getting a response from me through the door, she left me alone. I feel kind of like a child for not talking with her and shutting the door on her, but I just couldn't look at her. Monday, I got up and ready for work. She was waiting for me and asked if we could discuss getting back to normal. I said, "You have been doing all the talking for the both of us for the last week. Why don't you continue so I could leave for work? I have an appointment with the attorneys my friend recommended for this week." Unfortunately, my lawyer wasn't available for a few days, so I was faced with the reality of having to live with my wife in the interim. I really didn't want to go home and have any discussion, let alone a discussion about our relationship. When I did get home, I was basically ambushed by her friends and my mother-in-law. Instead of taking the remorseful approach, they decided that a full court press was what the situation warranted, and I was basically berated by them. Her best friend was definitely the ringleader, but all of them decided to say such things as, "She's been through a lot. You don't know what she's been through. You have no idea what it is like to face something like this. This was a one-time thing. At least she told you she could have hidden it from you. She will never see the guy again, and my favorite one from them. You are an a-hole for what you have been putting her through these last couple of days." It might sound wrong, but I had a smirk on my face the entire time. I couldn't believe the situation I was in. To be berated by my in-laws and my soon-to-be ex-wife's best friend calling me an a-hole for disagreeing with her affair. I asked if they were all done now. Then I asked my wife if there was anyone in her circle of friends or anyone else that she forgot to tell about this. I quietly informed all of them that I was going to sit down with their husbands and tell them about how they were verbally abusing me, shaming me, and trying to coerce me into staying with a cheater. After I told them to leave, I said that since I had no say in the entire event, so in turn, they had no say in whether I stayed or not. My soon-to-be ex-wife sort of apologized. She said that she regretted the entire thing. I said there is a difference between regret and remorse. You regret what happened because of the cause and effect. You have regret because your life will never be the same. Our relationship will never be the same because you were wholly and willfully unconcerned about me and what I wanted. She asked if I had any questions that she would answer them now, no matter how disturbing. I said that the one question I do have is why. Not necessarily why this guy, why this low-end, unattractive, unfit guy, but why someone else in the first place. She said that the cancer scared her to her core. She felt like she was rushing toward mortality, and stepping out of that tunnel was appealing. She said that after all this time of being a wife and mother and worrying about family, this was something just for her, an escape. The guy was just someone who had been interested in her for a long time. She knew he wouldn't say no and was completely opposite to me. I said if I were going to risk my marriage, the woman would have to be a serious upgrade from you. I told her that I saw you and him coming out of the bar that night. I watched you walk away from the bar hand in hand towards the hotel. I said that you looked too familiar with each other and asked if there was something going on before all this. She said no, but who knows if that is the truth or not. I said that after all our years together, your lack of respect for me was astonishing. I finished by saying that I would never be able to look at myself in the mirror again if I condoned that level of disrespect and stayed with you. I said I hope we can go our separate ways amicably, and that I have an appointment with a lawyer later in the week. I again asked her to find some other accommodations, and she simply said, "I am not going anywhere. We are not getting a divorce. I will give you all the time you need and do whatever you need to recover from this. We will get past this." She has asked me to go to marriage counseling, which I refused. Why would I go to counseling? I did nothing to warrant needing a therapist's advice. I had her served and gave her a notice to vacate. The house is my premarital asset. She has moved in with her mom, but I find her constantly coming by to see if I need anything or making suggestions like, "What if we had an open relationship only on your side," or threesomes, which seems kind of desperate and pathetic. Rebuffing her constantly and telling her she has to call to ask permission before coming by, and finally seems to be getting through to her that there will be no yes going forward. She has said that she will drag the divorce out for as long as possible, but so far has been compliant. The worst part of all this is telling my daughter that we are getting a divorce, and why, followed closely by her begging me to give her mom another chance. I am not sure I would have been afforded the same consideration if I was the one who was cheating. My soon-to-be ex-wife has said that she will give me whatever I want in the divorce if I agree to attend marriage counseling, but I am not interested. There was a bit of back and forth while we worked out what separation looks like in everyday life from this point forward. As a result, we have only just agreed to the confines of the legal separation, so as we move towards defining the divorce language, maybe my stance may change. The house was a premarital asset, so she has no claim to it. The only things she could go after are my pension, vehicles, and vacation property, but I would counter that she has lived rent-free for 20-plus years and has her own money plus inheritance from her father. I may have offered a top-up in retirement as she was a stay-at-home mom while our daughter was young, but that would be the most at this point. I received a lot of messages from friends about her friend group and my daughter, so I will clear up any misconceptions now. My daughter isn't taking her mother's side. She has always been a mama's girl, but she is very unhappy with her mom right now. Her initial reaction was just shock. She held out hope that we would work through any issues and stay together. Now she accepts that is not going to happen. She has been limiting her interactions with her, but at the end of the day, she is still her mom. The friend group husbands were upset at the level of complicity of their wives in aiding and abetting the contacts' cheating and made them cut off my wife, but that seems to have been forgotten at this point. Her best friend was the ringleader and seems to have taken perverse pleasure in actively creating scenarios where they would be in contact, at the very least encouraging to the point of causing her husband to question her motives. It turns out she didn't like me at all, and this was her way of sticking it to me. I guess she wins. The best friend's husband said that there was some sexting in his wife's messages, but that he is dealing with it. We did meet up with him apologizing for his wife's complicity, but it is not his fault, and he just wants to move on. I have decided not to date anyone for a while. I will not be getting married ever again. So that is it. I'm moving on, and I don't think I can find it in my heart to forgive her.